election run. Don't really know what the politicians are doing about care, apart from the fact that it's seriously underfunded. But, right, I'm going to show you some facts about care, and I don't want these facts to frighten you even more. There are 11 million people over 65 now living in England. That population of over 65 is expected to increase by 32% in the next 20 years. So, as you know, we've got a growing older population. In 2022, over 15,000 people in the UK were centenarians. And in fact, on the 17th of June this year, a lady called Ethel Cutterham reached 114 years and 310 days. I don't know whether she's still alive. I didn't manage to check that.
Where's she living now?
I can't remember. But that is an advanced age, and dare I say it, we've had many people over 100 living in our care homes. The oldest resident was 105 when they died, and that's in the 10 years I've been working there. Right, so what is the average age of those moving into care? At the moment, it's 84 years of age. Now, some other facts, and these may not surprise you, but the average stay in a residential care home is 4.6 years for females and 3.7 years for males. And the older you are on admission, the less time is basically spent in care. And of those residents in care homes, 37% in the UK get no help at all from the state. They are what are called self-funders, and that figure was approximately 137,000 people as of February last year. In the southeast of England, that number actually rises to 50% of the total of care home residents, and I think that's possibly because, you know, London is a wealthy city and people can afford to move into care. And although you may be eligible for funded care from the local authority, there may well be a cost to you, so don't assume that you're going to get away with not paying anything. This will depend on the financial assessment that's carried out by the local authority, and they do take everything into consideration: savings, any assets, investments, pensions, and obviously property. Right, some factors that affect the length of stay, and these are, again, quite scary. The older you are, the higher the death rate in a care home. Males tend to die earlier than women. If you have what they call assistance of daily living tasks, if that assistance is high on admission, then the death rate is higher. If your cognitive function is impaired, such as with dementia, bipolar disorder, mental health issues, again, the death rate can be higher. And also the bed type. There is a difference between residential homes and nursing homes, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But if in nursing homes, the death rate tends to be higher, basically because people have more complex needs when they move into a nursing home. Right, so to compare across the bed types and across age groups, if you're age 65 to 74, in comparison with, I'll talk about residential, it's 9.5%, 9% in nursing care. 75 to 84 years of age, 38.6% in residential care, just slightly reduced, 37.1% in nursing care, and over the age of 85, it's 51.9% in residential care, and again, a slightly higher increase in nursing care. The comparison of sex in terms of bed type. For those who are female in residential homes, it's 67.2%, and 68% of females in nursing homes, and again, the male population is much less, 32.8% in residential care, and 32% in nursing care. Right, so the difference.
Men lower because they're already dead.
Men die earlier than women.
Yeah. I mean,
It
the
is.
men died when they come to the.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that is changing. I've seen a shift since I first entered this, the care profession. Probably 20% of residents in our care homes were male. That's now increasing. So I think, again, males are with everybody starting to live longer, but men still statistically die younger than women. Right, so what is the difference between residential and nursing care? A healthcare professional or a social worker will have to assess you as to the category of care that is required. And this can be carried out in a hospital or in the community. Residential care homes, and that's both Delfield Court and Meadowside, we manage people with many health conditions, including incontinence, dementia, mental health issues, other medical issues, heart problems, diabetes, etc., and obviously personal care. And we manage them very often through end-of-life care, working with the paramedics, with the rapid response teams, with the palliative care teams. If someone, however, requires what we call invasive medical treatment, such as they need to be peg-fed, they need more than twice a day insulin injections, they're on IV fluids, they require oxygen, or they've got serious wounds that need regular dressing, this would require nursing care. Residential care wouldn't normally take somebody on first admission who couldn't weight bear. That is, being able to stand with assistance and basically able to walk a few steps. However, because the care needs of people coming into care are increasing rapidly, I think we're taking a view that even if somebody is bedbound, if we can manage the rest of their care needs, we will admit them. But any admission will be based on assessment by one of the care staff. So the important thing, I suppose, for most people is how do you self-fund? I think this has been touched upon by Rebecca and Anne. If you have capital, and that is savings and cashable assets, over £23,250 in England and Northern Ireland, or a weekly income high enough to pay for your care home fees, you won't get any funding from the local authority. If your only asset, however, is your home, therefore you have no savings or other income, you should be entitled to what is called a 12-week property disregard, which means that the local authority has a statutory obligation to fund care for 12 weeks until the property is sold. Now, often it takes much longer to sell a home than 12 weeks, but that's what the local authority will do. Although, again, I've had people come to me who say the local authority is saying they're not entitled to it. Well, as I say, if your only asset is your home, you are entitled to it. If the local authority will fund it, they will do so at their contract rate, which they negotiate with each care home. And as the private rate in care homes may be higher, you may need to pay what is called a third-party top-up for the difference between the local authority rate and the private rate. However, obviously, if you can self-fund, you have choice according to affordability, location, facilities, etc. If you're being funded by the local authority, you very often do not have any choice. They might give you 2 or 3 care homes and you're told that's the one you've got to go to. Right, in terms of property ownership, again, I think Anne in particular mentioned this. The property can be disregarded if a partner or relative over 60 years of age lives in the home, or a younger person who is receiving incapacity benefits. It could be a former partner, divorced or estranged if a lone parent, and discretion may be given to a carer who is a relative and under 60. However, occupational pensions are split to allow for the upkeep and running of the property, and moving from a disregarded property can have serious financial implications, so I would recommend you seek advice on that.
Sorry, you haven't mentioned how much it is per week.
I'm coming to that.
Sorry.
You're preempting me.
Yes, sorry.
Right. So, if you have money, but the money runs out, if you live in Barnet before moving into care and your assets deplete to the minimum, below 23,250, you need to contact the local authority to seek ongoing funding. You should do this when your assets reach about 70,000, because it can take the local authority up to a year to get round to assessing you, both for your care needs and for your financial assistance. It takes a long time, and I've known many people struggle. However, and I'd get quite a number of inquiries from out of borough, if you move out of borough into care in Barnet and your money runs out, don't expect Barnet to pick up your care fees. They may do. I think it will all depend on how long you've lived in a care home in Barnet, but I think given the pressure on funding within social services, the likelihood is that they will say you need to go back to the borough you came from and ask them if they will fund your care. So that can be hugely problematic. However, what I would say, again, seek financial advice from somebody like Rebecca. She mentioned SOLA, the Society of Later Life Advisors. They provide specialist advice for people, older people particularly, about funding care. And any independent financial advisor can review your financial situation and can help you meet the care costs and plan for the future. So definitely seek financial advice. We're not able to give that. I can talk about basic costs, etc., but I'm not an IFA. Other financial support that you can get, there's something called the Funded Nursing Care Contribution. At April 2024, this was set at £235.88 per week, but you must be in a nursing home to receive this. You won't receive this in residential care. Continuous healthcare funding, which is funded basically by the NHS. Very, very strict criteria apply, and it's very, very difficult to obtain. There are specialist advisors out there who can help you with this, but I think in the 10 years I've worked in care, I've known 2 people who've received CHC funding. Attendance allowance. Many of you may already get it for living at home. If you move into care, this is payable for a further 28 days once you move into the home, but is then stopped. If you're self-funding, this continues throughout the time you're in the care home. So, planning for the future. As I say, Anne mentioned the lasting power of attorney, finance and property, health and welfare. I meet many, many people who are inquiring for a care home, and I say, is there power of attorney in place for your grandmother, your mother, whatever? No. They can't sell the property, they can't fund the care. It's really, really important, and I think it's important to do this early. Don't leave it until you're 60, 70 years of age. Do it now. I did it myself a couple of years ago, having been speaking to people for years about it. And I also made sure that my attorneys are 2 young people who will undoubtedly, hopefully, outlive me, because there's no point in giving it to a spouse who may die, or an older relative who may die before you. Choose younger people that you trust and who know your wishes, and make your wishes clear.
Does the power of attorney, either of them, it ever expires? So once you've done it, does
No.
that's it?
No, power of attorney lasts.
Okay, brilliant.
But as I say, get it done sooner rather than later. Have it registered with the Court of Protection. Don't have the completed paperwork sat in a drawer. It needs to be registered. And if you are still fit and able, but don't really want to be bothered with your finances anymore, you can ask your attorney to step in and act on your behalf. You don't need to lose capacity for the power of attorney to be enacted.
Sorry, can I just ask one thing? I'm saying you get so many months when you move into care for your home to be sold, yes?
12 weeks.
Yeah. So what if, while you're still at home, you have a lasting power of attorney living with you, a son or a daughter or something like that, they're living with you. They have to make a decision whether you should go into care, but they're making themselves homeless, aren't they? So,
Well, as I've said, there are criteria. If you've got a child who's disabled living with you,
but there won't be lasting power of attorney, will there?
probably
You know,
not.
there'll probably be a
Well,
happy
it depends on it depends on the disability. Yeah, again, I think you'd need to seek advice on that.
But a healthy LPA would be making him or herself homeless by putting you in a home. You know, it's a decision, isn't it?
It is a decision, and a very difficult one, that people have to make all the time. I mean, you know, as I say, I meet with inquirers all the time, and everybody, bar none, feels guilty that they're talking about putting a loved relative into care. You know, it's something nobody really wants to do, but situations arise where, you know, they've cared for that person for many years, their own health has been affected, and they can't cope. And if that decision is selling the house, downsizing, whatever, you know, difficult decisions. Yes.
If you're in a good care home and privately funded, and while you're there, you don't have the money, then who picks up the bill? And are you moved to a lower quality care home?
Well, this is where it gets very difficult. As I say, you could be in an expensive care home as a self-funder for 4 or 5 years. If your money then runs out, if you have lived in Barnet previously, you are the responsibility of your local authority in Barnet. If you've come from out of borough, then it becomes more problematic. But whether or not the local authority will continue to fund very expensive care in, dare I say it, some of the really, you know, spanking new private homes that charge upwards of £2,500 per week.
Because it's very easy to run out of money. They're so expensive.
I know. I know. It is expensive, and I think that's one of the scary aspects of thinking about residential care. Did you have a question?
Again, on power of attorney, if you've nominated someone and then you decide you want to change the name, do you have to do a new one?
I would imagine you do, actually, yeah, because the document, once it's registered, is a document of law, and I don't think you can just change name. So, yeah. Yeah. So, obviously, make a will. For me, I think a will is, you know, you won't care about it, you'll be dead. But it's your relatives who are left and the ones who have to seek probate and deal with your affairs. But do make a will and make it clear who you want to leave any gifts or assets to. You probably need to think about planning for crisis. What would happen if you developed dementia? If you lost ability to walk? How are you going to manage? What will care look like for you? You may want to think at the moment, you need somewhere else to spend some time. Obviously, Age UK runs a day centre. We also have a day centre at Meadowside. It is for people who are living with dementia, so therefore not probably appropriate for many of you here, but you might know somebody who would benefit from a day or two at a day centre. And we also offer respite care. So if you're a carer and you would like to take a break, but you can't leave your relative at home, we can offer a week minimum respite if we have availability. Right, the final bit. As I say, we run 2 care homes, Delfield Court and Meadowside. Delfield Court is a 40-bed care home in central Finchley. All the bedrooms are ensuite, walk-in shower rooms, and we cover residential care for elderly, frail people who need help, but also for those living with dementia. Meadowside is slightly larger at 68 beds, and again, all the rooms are ensuite, and we cover residential and dementia care. Both homes have just been recently refurbished. In fact, Meadowside won't finish until the end of July, but everything has been done. New electrics, new plumbing, new sprinkler system, new heating, bed sensors, ambient lighting, new nurse call system. All the rooms have TV and telephone services, and Wi-Fi is available throughout. We also have hairdressing facilities on site, and both homes have beautiful gardens. So when the weather's like this, we've got actually at the moment, and I'm missing it, very sadly, we've got baby goats visiting at Delfield Court. And they're probably having some barbecue out in the garden as we speak. Sorry, I didn't. We're barbecuing the goats. Heaven help me. So, our care fees for self-funders start at £1,545 per week. A week of respite is £1,780 per week. And we, according to assessment, these are low care fees, low need. We then go up slightly for medium care needs, and then for those who need more support, like one-to-one, 24/7 care, then the fees go up again. They're reviewed on an annual basis, and the annual increases have been running at around 3 to 4% in the past few years. Respite is if you're a carer and you want a break from your caring duties, you want to find somewhere safe for your relative, that's what we offer. A week, it's like a week's holiday for them. Temporary, yeah. So what do I do as the family liaison manager? I manage all the inquiries that come into both care homes, and that's through social services and private inquiries. And I provide impartial advice to help families understand what their options are and assist them in making informed choices. It's a very difficult thing to do, I appreciate that. I've had grown men cry on my shoulder because they're looking for care for a loved one and they feel so guilty about doing it. But if I can help in any way, that's what I do. And hopefully, obviously, that means we have new residents coming into our care homes on a regular basis. Turnover can be quite high. Fortunately, at neither home have we lost many people in this last couple of years. Obviously, COVID was a bit of a shock, but we survived that and we're going strong. So, if you're interested, I would like to invite you to come and view one of the care homes or both. You can call me or email me, and my details are on the screen.
Just like to ask one question. I have an elderly relative that is going into an operation, quite a big operation. When they come out, they may need respite. So what would the fees be if they they had an operation, would it come under nursing care? And would you take someone for a fortnight or something like that?
It would very much depend on what sort of operation they had and what input was required afterwards. For instance, we don't provide physio help, and that would have to be bought in separately. And it could be that if their care needs are quite high, they might be better off choosing a nursing home just for the facilities offered. But we assess everybody on a case-by-case basis, and we have taken people who've had heart surgery, knees surgery. As I say, we just do our own assessment, and if we can manage their care needs, we will, and they're happy to come to us, then we're happy to take them. Now, as I say, I started out by saying I think a lot of people think care, don't want to think about it. I've got a little questionnaire here, and I'd be really grateful if as many of you as possible would complete this, because we're trying to assess what is it that makes people think care, what makes them think, no, I would never ever think care.
And those films they have made in rooms where you see people being abused. That's what's scary.
Absolutely, and I know that you don't get a lot of good news stories from care homes, if any. All you ever hear about is the abuse. And I can honestly tell you that abuse, yes, it happens, but it's rare. It's not a common thing. And if you come to any of our care homes, you will see incredible people giving great care.
I used to do voluntary work before I went to university. The abuse I saw there.
Yeah,
And they loved me because I was there to care for them. They were left in their own pieces. And that was, okay, it was a long time ago.
yeah. I think there's also, dare I say it, we have had instances whereby you get somebody who is deemed to have capacity, but that capacity enables them to make bad choices. We can't dictate, we can't force ourselves on anybody, and if they don't want to have their incontinence pads changed, we can't do that. And it happens, it really does. I could tell you some stories, but I won't, because that would really put you off. But, we want people to live as independently as they can within a caring environment. We look after their day-to-day needs in terms of personal care, make sure they eat and drink properly, make sure that they take their medication properly, provide them with little treats if that's what they need. Activities, there's an activities programme just to show you the sort of things we put on. As I say, we've got baby goats at Duffield.
Having said that, my uncle was in a home in Barnet 5 years ago.